Well, thanks so much for tuning into this conversation with the markets doing what they are doing. I think it's important to get some sane voices to talk about what could happen in the near term. Not all voices will tell you that it's all rosy and therefore buy every dips. Some voices will also tell you, call a spade for what it is. But maybe, and I'm not presuming what Chakri Lokapriya has to say, but he joins in right now to talk about his thoughts on the current fall and what it could mean. Chakri, so good having you. Thanks so much for joining in. Firstly, I hope all is safe. And then just tell us about how do you read the current circumstances, both, I mean, one on the effect that this could have on the economy and macro, and two, on the kind of reaction that the markets can show, not just today but over the near term.
Good afternoon. I think today the market reaction is not actually excessive because if you rewind back 1 year ago, roughly around the same time, markets had fallen sharply. The only difference between then and now is now you have a vaccine, then you did not. So that's the good news, the incremental good news. Now, the bad news is versus other countries, while we have 100 million vaccines, people vaccinated out there, vaccination shots out there, but percentage-wise of the overall population is still an extremely small number, given India is a very large country. I think therein lies the risk because, by Memorial Day in the US and probably in a month or so in the UK, they would have achieved a significant and therefore, start reaching herd immunity, which will allow the economy to reopen. In India, still various services sectors are still not really open. You take restaurants, movie theaters, malls, they're all not operating at full capacity. And so now with this spike, that delay will be further pushed out. So therefore, if we do not see an additional, vaccinations being released, then I think this market is headed for a further correction. Hello,
let's assume that the vaccinations do get released, but the increased cases force not just Maharashtra, maybe a few other governments to do intermittent lockdowns. Do you think the market would fear the worst and therefore react more violently? Or do you think the markets will say, maybe this is a 1 month lockdown, but then things will revert to normal and the market is a forward-looking animal? So let's discount this. What do you think will happen? What would you do?
The market is still way higher than it was, let's say, 6 months ago. And so in this last 6 months, you have assumed a large amount of earnings upgrades that will happen. The market did not really forecast a spike. They forecasted some kind of mini spikes, but not the kind of spikes that we're seeing. So I think what is the key is to see the number of vaccinations to dramatically increase. And if that happens, that will calm the market. So, things like Sputnik and a few others which are in the pipeline, if they are approved, then that will calm the market.
Okay. So you certainly do believe that if the vaccination drive not begins, it's still on, but is reinforced in all earnestness, then that will take care of the nervousness because of the lockdowns as well.
Indeed, because last year when the corona thing first spiked up, we did not have a solution in sight. So there was that fear of the unknown of if there will be a vaccine or not. Now you do not have that fear. People now know, the economies now know that vaccines do work. Vaccines do reduce the intensity of a further infection due to corona if a person is infected post-vaccine. So against that backdrop, I think the market will be calmer. What they need to know is there is an additional vaccine doses, whichever brand it is available in the Indian market.
Okay, Chakri, were that to not happen, that we get a slight delay due to whatever reason, but there is a slight delay in the announcements or the perception of the street would be that, okay, the vaccination drive is not there in full earnestness. Do you reckon there could be a violent shock to the markets, or largely if you hear the noises, it seems that if there is a delay, there is a momentary delay. Even BKC Jumbo in Mumbai, which was reportedly had stopped vaccination is still now resumed doing it, and we don't know for how long it lasts, but it's still doing it.
Yeah, I think, see, if you look at the US, for instance, everybody above the age 16 is being vaccinated. Yes, they have the benefit of a lower population, 330 million versus 1.3 billion people in this country. And so that clearly is against India's favor. There's nothing that you can do about it uh, to achieve herd immunity, where more than 50% of the population at stake needs to be vaccinated, will take a long time versus
Okay.
an advanced country. So the advanced countries, then economies will start rebounding faster. So then we'll have to rejig portfolios to more export-based companies and sectors.
Are you doing that right now, Chakri? I'm tempted to know, because the bent of the market had moved towards domestic cyclicals. Even if this is a temporary shift, are you making large-scale shifts towards global cyclicals versus, or global or export-oriented companies versus domestic cyclicals?
Yes, one is the well-known culprits like IT and pharma will do well for obvious reasons, because one, IT, the global demand will continue to grow will continue to accelerate, and so therefore IT. Second is in the case of pharma, they've actually underperformed calendar year this year. So that perspective, there is some amount of catch up that the pharma can do. Third is companies like chemicals, some of the auto ancillary companies which are more export oriented, or global sectors like metals, companies which have the ability to export their produce rather than sell them domestically, will actually benefit.
Chakri, today, as I look at this, there is serious pain in real estate, for example. DLF is down some 13%. Serious pain in private banking. HDFC Bank, the numbers which will come out on Saturday, is down 7%, when the market is down just 3% or 3.5%. I mean, just as in relative to the market, the index, one of the top weightage banks, is down 7%. Do you reckon some of these rate sensitives, which also could be classified as domestic cyclicals, have some more downside, or do you think some of these larger names will find bottom soon?
Uh, uh, if you look at, for example, the larger names, take Kotak Bank, for example, it trades at about 5 times plus book value. HDFC Bank trades about 3.5 times. So, which means they're not anywhere close to distressed valuations. They're trading at fairly decent multiples. Now, because of the lockdown, if you have a slowdown in credit uptick, which is a natural consequence of that, then and plus there are a spike in NPAs as a result of the new lockdown, which is clearly not factored in any kind of estimates. Then the estimates will be revised down. And so, which means that I would therefore stay away from financials, whether it's the big financials like the HDFC banks of the world, or even the smaller financials. They would clearly be the first one to bear the brunt in case there is if the spike, they're saying that it'll be controlled in a week or two. Now, if that is the case, great. We're back to the growth path. But I think we need to play. There should be amount of caution until we get there.
Okay, so you'll wait for the turn to happen before you think of some of the banks. What about real estate? Strong sector, great tailwinds. March quarter saw extremely strong sales. The stocks are falling like nine pins currently.
Yeah, and real estate always has been a very stock-specific thing because leverage is very high. This after post-lockdown, they've been selling down their inventory, raising capital, therefore strengthening balance sheets. But again, if there is any meaningful lockdown, then again you'll have the usual problems you faced last year, like some of the workers going away, construction coming down, etc. And so in that instance, I would stay away from financials. I'm sorry, from real estate. Even after today's fall, I'll still would wait for the dust to settle before buying into real estate.
If you had some of the banks, Chakri, would you get out of them, or that would not be prudent?
It depends upon which bank. But clearly the answer is yes. When things fall, things can fall. So there's no such thing as there's no backstop. But clearly the market. So the answer is short answer is yes. Will I trim down positions? The answer is yes in financials. But is the situation better than it was last year? Clearly, yes, because now you have all the solutions, and people know, companies know, employees know how to deal with lockdowns than the market did, the economy did last year.
Got it. Okay, Chakri, one final word, really. What is, I mean, clearly, as you said, we have a vaccine on. So whatever disruptions happen, in all probability, are a lot less, are a lot more temporary than what they were in 2020. What's the extent of maximum damage that you see here? And I'm not saying that that is what will happen or that is the scene that we've reached there. Let's not try and create panic here for the benefit of everybody who's listening. But do you reckon, I mean, I'm sure we won't fall the way we did in 2020, but do you reckon that a 5-10% correction or more can also happen? 10% correction or more?
Yeah. See, I think two things here. One is clearly, last year, the whole world was going down at the same time. This time, in different, like the US, the UK, Israel, Europe, they're all vaccinating at a far faster pace than India can do. So therefore, the global downturn, therefore, India's downturn will be far lesser than it was last year. So then by definition, and second, financials as a sector has not really done that well. Yes, stocks have kind of doubled, but still valuation wise, they are still fairly sound valuations. So I don't think that there is a room for need for panic. It'll take, I wouldn't jump into the market right now. I would jump into some of the sectors which are more export oriented ones. And I think so that would be my approach over the next, in the medium term, until we get more clarity. Hey, tomorrow, if there's going to be a Sputnik or XYZ vaccine immediately being approved, it will very immediately change the market sentiment to the positive.
Okay, we really appreciate you taking the time out and giving us your thoughts. Thank you so much and stay safe.
Thank you so much. Stay safe.
And viewers, thanks for tuning into this broadcast. I hope it helped you in some way assess the situation currently and what you should do with your portfolios.